I truly believe that time is the most valuable asset that we have. So I know that for your viewers or listeners, we don't have time for fluff, right? So I'll give you the key versions of my story as an entrepreneur. I came here. I was sharing with Alice before the podcast. It's like I'm an immigrant, just like him. I came here, was 11 years old, had to adapt to the market, had to adapt to the culture, and I had to learn how to speak English. And I still think that until now, I'm still learning how to speak English. But when I was 11 years old, I came here to the United States, and at a young age, I realized that I had to.
Welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast, where we bring to you the most successful, happy, fulfilled gentlemen from around the world who have been able to conquer themselves, their life, their marriage, and their businesses. You will be learning from four-dimensional gentlemen who have cracked the code to the science of having it all. The question is, how can married entrepreneurs with kids become gentlemen, achieve true freedom, and build a successful, happy, and fulfilled life, marriage, and business? This show will give you the answer for that. My name is Alex Ramirez, and I'm your host, and you're welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, Fulfillment Talk podcast. So, hello, welcome to another episode. This is going to be a short one. Today, I have Raul Villacis. I'm very excited to talk to him for a bit. And before I actually introduce him, I just wanted to thank everyone who has been leaving comments, reviews on YouTube, on Spotify, on the Apple podcast and everything. 99% of people never take the time to leave a review or a comment or even a like, but the 1% of you who do are the ones who make all the difference. So thank you very much. And today I have Raul Villacis. Thank you for being here, man. I really appreciate you. So yeah, you're welcome, man.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for welcoming. I love the fact that you said my last name, Villacis. It's refreshing to actually hear that the last name pronounced the right way, man. So thank you.
Villacis. I'm Mexican, man. So yeah.
Yeah.
So man, the first thing that I always do with my guests is tell them to introduce them, to describe their entrepreneurial journey. Basically, tell us your entrepreneurial journey in 75 seconds or less. It's a little bit different, right?
Yeah. No, I like it. I like it because I truly believe that time is the most valuable asset that we have. So I know that for your viewers or listeners, we don't have time for fluff, right? So I'll give you the key versions of my story as an entrepreneur. I came here. I was sharing with Alice before the podcast. It's like I'm an immigrant, just like him. I came here, was 11 years old, had to adapt to the market, had to adapt to the culture, and I had to learn how to speak English. And I still think that until now, I'm still learning how to speak English. But when I was 11 years old, I came here to the United States, and at a young age, I realized that I was different, that I had to adapt to a different environment. So my parents were immigrants, very humble beginnings as well. But they see there's something inside my brother, my sister, and I, which is like it's a privilege to be in this country. It's a privilege for us to be here. So we can't fuck this up. That's pretty much what my parents told me. Don't fuck this up, right? So as I started to go in high school and getting in trouble, I was fucking things up. Similar to what your story, getting into gangs, getting with bad influences. And through that journey, my father got diagnosed with muscular dystrophy, which is a disease that makes your body weak, eats up all your muscles, and eventually you end up in a wheelchair, and eventually you can't move your arms, and eventually you just end up in a bed. So at 19 years old, when the doctors diagnosed my father as with that disease, I knew how to make the shift. I knew how to change. I knew how to figure out how do I make money to provide for my family? How do I make money to be able to survive? And that's when I started looking at different business models, selling, network marketing. I wanted to become an attorney, but I knew that it took money and it took education. So that wasn't going to work, right? So I was lucky enough to find real estate at a young age. And that's what changed the game for me. I found a mentor. And that mentor helped me believe in myself and helped me find the game. And he actually gave me a book to read that changed my life. And he says, Raul, if you read this book, as a salesperson, you're never going to be hungry. I don't even think that they make this book anymore, Alex. So you might have to research this book, and your audience, if it's young enough, they're probably going to have to ask their parents about this book. All right. So if you're ready, when I give you this book, if you're a sales guy, this book is going to be the book that's going to change everything for you, because if you actually read this book, you're never going to go hungry, because it has all the information that you need in order for you to make money. Okay. You ready for this book, Alex?
Go ahead.
White Pages.
That's the name of the book?
White pages is what we used to use. It was a phone directory. It
Oh
had
shit.
everybody's name and everybody's phone number in it. So he said, listen, go into this book and start calling people from this book, cold calling everybody. So it had the names and numbers of every single person that lived in my city. So because white pages
Mhm.
back in the days, we didn't have Google, we didn't have the internet, right? So we had to rely on a book that's 10 times as big as this, that we
Uh-huh.
would look in and we open up and it said, okay, Mr. Williams, phone number, address, call him up. Hey, do you want to buy real estate? Yes, no. Okay, next. So I always start with that when young people, because I would love to see the shock in your face, like what the fuck is a white page?
I didn't even know what a white book was, man. I was like, white
White
book?
pages, yeah. Ask your parents if they know what white pages is. So yeah, that changed the game for me. I started cold calling people for real estate. I made my first six figures in 1 year, and then by the age of 30, I was making millions of dollars in real estate, and that was the beginning of my journey.
Cool. That's amazing, man. So your dad is the person that made the shift for you.
Yeah, well, his my I would say my parents were always a very key part in my growth. But when
Hmm.
my dad was diagnosed, that's what changed everything for me. That's what I had to realize. I had to become a man. Like, when you talk about becoming a gentleman, right? Is I
Hmm.
had to grow the fuck up. I had to become a man because this was a life or death situation for me.
Cool. Yeah, man. So man, so when did you start a family? Was it after you had, like quote unquote financial success, or did you start a family and then,
So
you
I
know,
met my wife in high school. So we're high school sweethearts.
okay,
And
cool.
we met, around 17, 18 years old. And by 21, we were married. But we didn't have any kids. I didn't want to fall into the statistics of being, married with kids. I wanted to find, at that moment, I thought I needed to be financially stable to have
Hmm.
kids, right? So I was working my ass off, and we were married for about 7 years to build a foundation. But I got to a point that I didn't want to have kids. I thought like, man, we're having such a good time and we're making money. We're traveling. We're happy. I see all these families with kids that they get divorced, and I see all these people being unhappy. So I was the one who said, like, I don't want to have kids. But my wife pushed me, and she convinced me. And eventually, I always, joke that she took advantage of me one night. But the reality is that our kids have been the best gift in our lives. My son was born. It was life changing, and we were already 7 years married. And then we have my little girl that came 18 months after that, because we call them Irish twins because they're 14 months apart.
Hmm.
And I never believed what people used to say before, like, when Raul, you think you were hard, wait till you have kids, work twice as hard. But I thought, it was impossible because I was already a hard worker. I was already grinding every single day. But when my kids came, it was a different purpose. It was a different vision that I had to create.
So yeah, so definitely when men have kids, I've seen that for a lot of men, it's something that slows them down and holds them back. So if you had to give a quick tip to someone, to a married entrepreneur with kids who, wants to be there for his family, wants to be present for his wife, for his kids, but also wants to keep on working hard, what would you say, man?
So I have a lot of samples in my life. For example, my brother, similar to you, he had a baby when he was 18 years old, right? And I seen the struggles of young men when they have young kids, but also see the gift, of that.
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
there is, when young couples get married and they have kids, immediately what we say in the Spanish community is like, oh, there goes the future, right? Or they're not going to have the opportunities that they have. But the reality is that the upside is that one, if they truly make it work, which I believe nowadays, man, there is no, like, whether you have kids now or later, like, there's so much opportunity. We could work virtually. We have business, like, there's so much more abundance now than it
Yeah.
was, 20 years ago. So maybe that was the case. Maybe 20, 30 years ago, if you were a teenager, teenage father or mother, then now you were stuck in a certain category. But now the case is not the case. The case is now that there's so many other opportunities that you work at home, you have a side hustle. But what I will say, to men that have kids is like, listen, anybody could have kids. Any man could have kids. Not a man. If you have kids, if you're a man, you have kids. But not every man could be a father. It's a
Hmm.
different energy to be a father. It's being there for your kids, and not necessarily financially. Where I coach businessmen, and believe it or not, I don't know how deep you went into what I do, Alex, but my niche, my ideal client, or the things that we do are men over 40, hitting 50 towards 60. And do you know that most of the patterns of successful businessmen, and what fucks up their marriage, what fucks up their life, is the relationship with their parents. They always go back. So I've coached grown ass men that, their father treated them like shit, or like, grown ass men that they still have issues with their dad, that energy. So don't think for a minute that, what you do is not impacting the next generation of you, of your kids. So it just carries. And what I'm passionate about, just breaking the cord of unconsciousness behavior. I think a lot of
Yeah.
us, what we do, especially in the Latin community, Alex, that we just try the things that our father did, right? If my
Without
father,
knowing it, yeah.
yeah, it's just, oh, my father did this, I came out okay, like, he did this, but the reality is, we have to understand there's unconscious behavior, there's patterns. I had to figure it out through my journey, like where were the lineage that I go through as far as my great grandfather, what were the blessings, at the same time, what were the curses, so I could break away from the curse and take the blessings to be able to continue to bless my kids, but I'm not going to continue to curse them because I have a different type of awareness now.
Cool. So you talk about like healing the inner child and all of that. I recently read a book about, well, I listened to it, but I'm going to read it to actually go deep into that. It talks about how the relationship that you had with your parents reflects in the relationship that you have with your spouse and your kids, and then
100%, man.
and unconsciously.
There's a studies that are being done, and I'm constantly, I'm a student of personal development. I'm a student of this game, and I love to study successful entrepreneurs and patterns. And I look at, I'm blessed enough that I have, successful businessmen that I coach, and I look at patterns. And then my
Mhm.
one pattern that I see is that we always have a relationship with our wives, modeling the relationship that our mother had with us. So that's why you have a lot of men who want to marry, but then they don't really want a woman, right, to love and to cherish. They want a woman to take care of them, right? So
Mhm.
unconsciously, we're looking for a mother.
Hey, sorry for the interruption. I just wanted to tell you that this podcast has completely changed my life in ways that you could never imagine, and I would like the same for you. Look, you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with, and the fastest way for you to level yourself up in every area of your life is for you to connect with people who are where you want to be, build relationships with them, and connect with them. The best way for you to do that right now in the digital age is for you to start your own podcast. And I just wanted to let you know that I have a free training that you can get free access to. It's called the 30-day Net Worth Skyrocketing 3-step podcast cloak track framework. And it's going to show you how you can start and automate everything in your podcast, from finding your ideal guest, getting them on an interview with you, and creating an automated content machine in just 30 days. By executing on this free training, you're going to be able to connect with high-level people, no matter how rich, famous, or out of your league they may seem, in just 30 days with less than 1 to 2 hours per week, so that you can increase your net worth, your authority, your trust, your client acquisition ability, and your opportunity. So there's a special link for this free training in the description of this video. Thank you for watching and tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of this episode. Bye-bye.
We want somebody to do the dishes, to clean, and then we wonder why we don't have passion. Then we wonder why, we're looking somewhere else instead of looking at home, because we're tapping into the mother energy. Another wife, all of a sudden, before we got married, she was sexy, she was attractive. Now we get married, and now she's not so much, right? Because we shift that energy. Now, with that's the business side, that's the abundance, right? If we come from scarcities because we didn't have a relationship with our father, that we felt that we were not good enough. So that feeling of not being good enough always comes down from the father figure. That's why I believe fathers play a huge role on confidence, on certainty, on abundance. Because as fathers, we have to play that role of bringing that man or that woman certainty into their lives. And if you don't have that opportunity to ground your kids, they're gonna have doubt, they're gonna have fear, they're gonna be insecure, and therefore they're always gonna be second guessing, because deep inside they were never good enough for their dad.
Crazy, right, man? Yeah, man. So I wanna talk into about scarcity, right? Because well, first of all, because I still struggle with scarcity. Let me tell you a story. Actually, I actually went shopping the other day, and I was going to buy my daughter some clothes, and we bought a bunch of clothes to her. But guess what I did, man? Fuck, I lost like 7 hours because I chose for some reason to buy clothes for her that were one or two size bigger than she actually needs. right? Because when I was a little kid, my mom used to buy me,
Yeah.
clothes and shoes that
Yeah.
were bigger than they actually needed to be,
Yeah.
so that they could last for longer. And I did the same, man. And then when I was driving back, I drive for like we drove for like an hour and a half to the mall, and then I drove back, and then I was thinking, what the fuck did I did? And I had to drive back, go in and switch everything, right, to like fix my mistake. But I realized that it was because I was coming from a place of scarcity, even though there's abundance and we're good and everything is fine. I still did the same thing that my mom did with me, man,
Mm.
of buying me
Yeah.
clothes that were like
Yeah.
two sizes as big. So I want to make sure to talk about scarcity, but I wanted to ask you something, like for my personal benefits, selfishly, which is I've noticed myself as well, you know, like the behaviors that my mom had against me, I show those behaviors against my wife. And then I'm not lucky, but because I'm putting in the work, but I always like reflect, and like every single day I have time to reflect and think back to how I'm showing up as a man, right? And to see if I'm showing up how I intentionally intend to show up. And those behaviors that you talk about, like the behaviors that how my mom treated me, I treat the same way my wife. I treat my wife the same way. And I'm aware, but it keeps on happening, right? If I lose my like consciousness for a second, I default back to that, to like
Yeah.
to those behaviors, to those patterns. So, what would you tell me to help me break them, man? And
So
anyone else who's listening who, maybe is aware of their patterns and wants to break them.
so I hear this all the time, Raul. I know what to do, right? But I'm not doing it. So you have the awareness. Like I know I need to lose weight, but shit, I can get myself to the gym. I know I need to treat my wife different, but shit, I don't take my time. I know I need to make more money, but I have a hard time making the phone call. So, the definition of insanity, people say like is doing the same thing, expecting different results, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think the definition of insanity is knowing what to do, but not doing it. Like knowing what to do but not doing it, it's just fucking crazy because you want
Yeah.
to change your life, but you're not willing to do it. So I always go back to pain, right? We are creatures that we avoid pain and we reach for pleasure.
Push and
But
pull.
but if you think about it, if we were wired to for pleasure, everybody will be fit, everybody will have money, everybody will be like fulfilled because we wire for pleasure. I truly think that most of us are wired to avoid pain. That's the reason that we don't change. That's the reason we don't try different things because you have the certainty already, the framework in your mind that you treat your wife a certain time and it's not going to be enough pain for you to change, right? But the moment that you said, listen, I'm leaving you, I'm divorcing you, then there's enough pain. I said, oh shit, now I need to treat it different. And if you don't have enough pain, you're not going to shift. So what I do is in order for me to break that pattern, I visualize and I write down what's the worst case scenario. And I actually step into like, if I don't treat my wife, the same way that I have an agreement with my wife. The moment that I'm not treating her the right way and somebody else, could treat her better, she has my permission to go because it's on me. It's on
Mm-hmm.
me because I'm not. It's not because we are married. I own her, or she doesn't own me. I live in. It's not. Don't get me wrong. We don't have an open relationship, right? I don't want to think that we have an open relationship. Nothing wrong with an open relationship, but I'm saying from my side is like I need to know that nothing is promised. Even my clients, just because they're my clients now, doesn't mean they're not going to be my clients next year. I constantly have to bring value into the relationships. I have to bring value into my family. I have to bring value into my clients. I have to bring value into the world. But in order for me, Alex, to bring value, I have to believe that I have value. And the reason that men are insecure and they treat women like shit, or they don't do the shit that they need to do, is because they let their insecurities get a hold of them instead of breaking through that feeling of being insecure. So we're blaming everybody else and we become victims and we're trying to survive. And that's, I talk about in my book, The King's Code. The first level of consciousness is survival. In order for you to go from survival to discover what else can you do, to discover possibilities, you have to go through pain. And that's the reason more men right now are in a state of weakness because we are constantly avoiding pain. It is easier for me to swipe left, swipe right, and get laid than to seduce my wife and connect. It is easier for me just, to do the same thing over and just get a 9 to 5 job that pays me enough than to take an opportunity and try something else or learn a new skill to be able to face my pain and face my fears to make more money. It is easier for me to just, watch TV on Netflix and chill than go to the fucking gym and get fit or listen to a podcast to learn something. Again, everything that we do is created to avoid pain, but the growth is when we face pain. The growth is the moment that we're facing our reality and say, shit, I don't want this. And to realize that it could be worse. But if you don't think it could be worse, you're never gonna move. So
Hmm.
why is that to break your pattern? And you said, like, imagine your wife leaving you. Imagine your wife saying, fuck, I'm done with you. Imagine your wife being picked up by another dude, another guy that says, hey, I'm a gentleman, come with me. Like, that's the shit to think about. So you're not coming from a place of I don't want this to happen. You're preventing this to happen. And that's how you change your patterns until that becomes the standard. Your
Cool.
actions become a standard, becomes a habit.
So you use your imagination to, instead of having to go through that, painful situation, you use your imagination to picture yourself there and picture how it feels how it feels, and then get that to make you change. Awesome, man. Yeah.
I believe imagination is underrated. I mean, look, fear is imaginative. We use
Yeah.
our imagination to be in fear, but we do it unconsciously. What can we use that imagination to actually like get us to have leverage
To our
for us to do
advantage.
something about it instead of, oh, I'm afraid this shit's gonna happen. I'm afraid that she's gonna say this. I'm afraid that they're not gonna pick up the phone. Like most men that live in fear is because they don't want to face the pain.
Cool. So, man, what would couple of things that you could drop on scarcity, man?
I have a 16-year-old son, 16-year-old son, and we talk about this all the time, that we are living in the greatest time of abundance. And if you do the research, it's not just hype of money. I'm talking about abundance in every area, resources, with water. There's more people right now getting water than, 50 years ago. There's less people dying of hunger than 50. So we don't see all these things. We look at the news, and the only shit that we see is a negative shit. Oh, the world is dying, the politics are doing this. And abundance is a state of mind. Scarcity is a fear-based belief, right? So even though
Mhm.
right now, let's say you're listening right now, so, oh, fuck, I can't meditate myself to wealth. I'm not asking you to meditate yourself to wealth. I'm asking you to focus on what is an abundance feeling that you have right now. So right now, maybe you're listening, you're broke as fuck, and you don't have any money, but you're breathing. You take a deep breath. You have an abundance amount of air, right? So now think about that. Like, you have an abundance amount. You're healthy. Maybe you're young and you're strong. So now that's working for you. So you have this abundance. You don't have a scarcity of, man, Raul, I can't breathe. I don't know when I'm gonna breathe again, right? No, oxygen is abundance everywhere. So is opportunity. So is you thinking, what kind of value can I bring? But because we are living constantly on fear, on focusing on what's not working, is we act on scarcity. That's the mindset. How to break that is you start really tapping into what's abundant in my life. I'm being grateful for what's abundant. And as an immigrant, you and I will probably relate a bit more of an abundance because I come from a place that we have 5 families in a 2-bedroom apartment living, right? So like and that was fine with us. We would come here and this is awesome. This is abundance, right? So as an immigrant, we might have a little bit different insight of abundance because we're not afraid. Like I tell my kids, I'm not afraid to go back and live in a basement because I grew up in a basement, right? So if Shay's the fan, I'm not afraid to go back. I'm not afraid, to lose everything. Actually, as a matter of fact, when I lost everything, I wasn't afraid for me. When I lost millions of dollars, I was more afraid for my kids and my wife and what will people say when I lost money. So abundance is a way of being, not necessarily when you have it. If you're waiting to be abundant when you have it, you already lost it. You're already scarcity. So find a way, like for right now, for you, an abundance of love that your little girl has. Man, there's no amount of money that you could pay for that. So you
Exactly.
tap into that and you feel that and you start thinking, okay, I have this. What else do I have? Oh, I have my health. I'm young. Oh shit. So when I tell my son right now, I said, like, you're the wealthiest kid in our family right now. Why? Because you're a teenager. You have all this content that you created with me. You have all this awareness, man. Like, you have the opportunity right now that you could conquer the world if you want to. But that's a choice.
Cool, man. So, man, I know that you gotta stop right here at 2:10. So, really appreciate you being here. I really enjoyed this short episode. It was
Yeah.
crazy. It was really good. It was really efficient and effective. I really enjoyed it. So, man, if I want to know more about Raul Villacis and the Edge, and and yeah, if I want to know more, if I'm a married entrepreneur with
Follow me.
kids.
Follow me on Instagram. Is Raul the Edge. Follow me in YouTube. Just look at Raul Villacis in YouTube. We're doubling down on YouTube. My website is raulvillacis.com, or go to my programs, thenextlevelexperience.com. I mean, listen, if they're following you, and they probably could follow me, and we'll bring tons of value. Right? I'd love to do this again and give you a little more time, next time that we meet.
All right. Awesome, man. Thanks very much. So have an
Thank you,
awesome
Alex.
day, man. And have
Appreciate
a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you, brother. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching the Gentleman's Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with one friend, leave us a comment, and let us know. 99% of people never leave a review or comment, but we love and are very thankful with the 1% of you who do. If there's something or someone you want to see on this podcast, send me a message on Instagram at Alex_Ramirez1020 and let me know. As a thank you for that, I have an amazing surprise for each and every one of you who does take the time to leave us a comment or review on YouTube or one of the major podcasting platforms